She deserves it more, honey, Mom said, never looking up from the gourmet cupcakes she was arranging on the tiered stand. Jessica has always been more dedicated to her studies. You've always had other interests. Her casual tone hurt more than a slap. I stood in my parents' kitchen, my medical school diploma still new in its frame, trying to understand what I'd just heard. Mom, we both graduated with honors. We had the same GPA. My voice stayed calm, but my hands trembled. I don't understand why you and Dad paid off all of Jessica's loans and none of mine. Audrey, she sighed, finally meeting my eyes with familiar disappointment. Your sister doesn't have a wealthy mentor like Dr. Flemington guiding her future. You've always had advantages she didn't. I almost laughed. Dr. Vivian Fleming became my research advisor because I worked 80-hour weeks in the lab while Jessica went skiing in Aspen with our parents. My advantage was exhaustion. Jessica's was unwavering financial and emotional support. So I'm being punished for finding my own opportunities? I asked quietly. Dad entered the kitchen and wrapped an arm around Mom's shoulders. No one is punishing you, Audrey. We're being practical. Your sister needs more help. You've always been resourceful. Resourceful. Their word for missing my research presentations while flying across the country for Jessica's volleyball tournaments. Their explanation for why she got a new car at 21 while I received a gas station gift card. Tomorrow was Jessica's debt-free celebration, their idea. Of course, extended family, friends, even former professors were invited. The banner read celebrating Jessica's achievement as if graduating without loans were her accomplishment rather than their decision. I should go, I said, picking up my bag. I have an early hospital shift. You'll still come to Jessica's party? Mom asked, worried not about me, but about appearances. I'll be there, I replied, though my stomach tightened. Outside, my phone buzzed with a message from Dr. Fleming. Need to speak with you urgently about the Patterson Fellowship. Big news. I stared at the screen as a cold realization settled in. My parents' favoritism wasn't just painful, soon it would become publicly humiliating, and I couldn't stop it. Jessica and I had been on different paths since birth. I arrived first. She followed 6 minutes later. Family stories say I was quiet and observant, while Jessica announced herself loudly, a pattern that never really changed. Growing up in Cleveland, she was the outgoing twin, friends, sports, constant attention. I was the bookish one, spending afternoons in the library learning about everything from astronomy to zoology. Our parents attended every soccer game and dance recital she had. My science fair victories earned a quick good job and a pat on the head. By high school the roles were fixed. When we both chose medicine, they celebrated Jessica but worried about me. Medical school takes grit, Dad warned. Jessica pushes herself harder. The irony never stopped hurting. At Ohio State, I kept a perfect GPA while working part-time. Jessica struggled through organic chemistry and physics with tutors our parents happily paid for. She retook the MCAT with an expensive prep course. I scored in the 98th percentile on my first try and got a polite nod, that's nice. I never blamed Jessica. I loved her. She didn't create the favoritism, she just lived inside it. Sometimes I thought she was uncomfortable with it, though she never said so. We were both accepted to the same medical school in Michigan. For 4 years we studied together, survived brutal rotations, and celebrated each other's successes. I hoped our parents would finally see us as equals. Instead, they found new ways to elevate her and minimize me. When I presented research at a national conference, Jessica received a Community Service Award the same weekend. They attended hers. Everything shifted during our final year, when renowned neurosurgeon Dr. Vivian Fleming noticed my research on pediatric traumatic brain injuries. Under her mentorship, I thrived. For the first time, someone recognized my strengths, not in spite of my quiet nature, but because of it. You have a gift for research, Audrey, she told me once. You see patterns others miss. That can't be taught. I only wished my parents could see me the same way. I understand your hesitation, she said gently, but sometimes recognition has to be public before it's acknowledged at all. She was right. If my parents heard about the fellowship privately, they'd dismiss it, call it luck instead of achievement. Okay, I said after a moment. You can announce it. As I left her office, my phone buzzed. Jessica, Mom's going overboard for tonight. It's embarrassing. Wish she'd celebrated both of us graduating like this. See you there. I stared at the message. It was the first time Jessica had ever openly acknowledged the imbalance. Before I could reply, another text appeared, this one from Mom. Don't forget business casual, and please let your sister have her moment. This is very important to her. The contrast between the two messages felt almost surreal. Maybe I'd been wrong about Jessica all along. Maybe tonight would finally expose truths my parents had avoided for 26 years. Jessica's debt-free celebration was held at an upscale rooftop restaurant in downtown Detroit. My parents had rented the entire terrace, a gesture that must have cost thousands. As the elevator doors opened, a banner greeted me. Congratulations, Dr. Jessica. No mention that there were now two Dr. Collins in the family. I smoothed my navy dress and took a breath. This was her night, whatever Dr. Fleming announced. I wouldn't let resentment destroy my relationship with my twin. Audrey. Jessica hurried toward me, leaving a circle of relatives behind. She looked stunning in a silver cocktail dress, her blonde hair cut into a stylish bob while mine hung long and simple. Thank God you're here, she whispered. Aunt Patty has asked 5 times if I have a boyfriend. I laughed. What did you say? That I'm married to medicine, but I'm accepting neurosurgeon applications. She linked her arm through mine. Seriously though, this is ridiculous. Mom invited half the medical school. The dean is here. I scanned the terrace and spotted him speaking with our father. They really went all out, I murmured. Too much. It's mortifying, she said quietly. And why just for me? We both graduated. We both worked insanely hard. The tight knot in my chest loosened. Maybe she understood more than I'd ever realized. Audrey, Jessica. Mom appeared with champagne. Jessica, the Hendersons just arrived. Thomas Henderson, chief of surgery at Cleveland Memorial. Come say hello. She pulled Jessica away, then turned to me. Audrey, could you check the gluten-free options? Your cousin Beth is being difficult again. And just like that, I became event staff while Jessica was presented to hospital leadership. Some things never changed. I was guiding the waitstaff when Dr. Fleming arrived in an elegant crimson suit. Audrey, she greeted warmly, hugging me. Ready for the announcement? I'm not sure, I admitted. The timing feels complicated. She scanned the terrace, the banner, the cake with only Jessica's name, the slideshow where I appeared mostly in the background. I see, she said softly, more complicated than I thought. Across the terrace, my parents introduced Jessica to Dr. Margaret Wu, chief neurosurgeon at Detroit Medical Center, where we had both applied for residency. My stomach tightened. Were they lobbying for her? Dad soon approached with Mom and Jessica. Dr. Fleming, what an honor. I hear you've worked with Audrey. Worked with? She repeated calmly. Audrey has been my primary research partner for 2 years. Her contribution was essential to our traumatic brain injury study. My parents exchanged a brief glance. How nice, Mom said vaguely. Jessica has also been involved in neurosurgical research. Dr. Wu was just complimenting her application. Heat rose to my cheeks. Jessica's focus was neuropsychiatry, not surgery. They were misrepresenting her achievements. Dr. Fleming's smile remained polite, but her eyes sharpened. Interesting, she replied. I was under the impression Jessica specialized in psychiatric applications. Silence fell over the group. My hope twisted into dread. The announcement wasn't going to smooth things over, it would expose everything. During dinner, my parents sat at the head table beside Jessica, our grandparents, and Dr. Wu. I was placed with cousins nearby, close enough to hear, but not belong. We always knew Jessica was destined for greatness, Dad told Dr. Wu. She's always been the ambitious one. Each word landed like a pinprick. After dessert, Dad stood and tapped his glass. Thank you all for celebrating our daughter Jessica's remarkable achievement. Graduating debt-free from medical school is truly special. Applause followed. Jessica looked increasingly uncomfortable. We've always believed in investing in her future, Mom added proudly. Invested in her, not us. Actually, Jessica said suddenly, rising to her feet, I want to say something. She looked straight at me, eyes apologetic. This celebration feels incomplete. Audrey and I graduated with identical GPAs. We both worked incredibly hard, honestly. She worked harder, because she did it without the support I had. The room fell silent. Jessica, Mom whispered sharply, not now. It is now, she said firmly. I won't accept recognition that excludes my sister. It's never been right. Emotion tightened my throat. After all these years, she finally said it aloud. Dad recovered with a forced smile. We're proud of both girls. Tonight is just about Jessica being debt-free. Because you paid for it, she replied steadily, not because I earned it. The perfect family image cracked in real time. Dr. Fleming stood. If I may, she said, her voice cutting cleanly through the murmurs. This seems like the right moment to share some news about Audrey. My parents stiffened. Audrey's research on neurovascular regeneration has earned her the Patterson Fellowship at Johns Hopkins. It is the most prestigious fellowship awarded to a graduating medical student in the country, including full loan forgiveness and a substantial stipend. Gasps spread across the terrace. Dr. Wu looked at me with sudden interest. Conversations erupted in whispers. In fact, Dr. Fleming continued, the committee specifically cited Audrey's dual approach methodology, which she developed largely independently while maintaining full clinical rotations. And just like that, the story my parents had written for years began to rewrite itself in front of everyone. I've mentored many promising physicians, Dr. Fleming continued, but rarely have I seen the level of dedication and insight Audrey demonstrates. The room broke into applause, real applause, warm, enthusiastic. People turned toward me, smiling, nodding with respect. My parents sat frozen, their expressions shifting from confusion to shock to something close to panic as their carefully maintained narrative unraveled in front of everyone. Jessica was glowing beside me, not jealous, just proud. But Dr. Fleming wasn't done. In addition, she said, our department has unanimously approved covering the remainder of Audrey's medical school loans through our Merit Scholarship Fund, in recognition of her extraordinary contributions to our research program. I was debt-free too. And I had earned it. After that, the entire evening transformed. Faculty who had clustered around Jessica now approached me, asking about my research. Supervisors shared stories about patients I treated, things I hadn't realized they'd noticed. My parents remained seated, stunned. They weren't just hearing news, they were watching the identity they'd assigned to me collapse publicly. Jessica came to my side with champagne. Congratulations, she said softly, clinking her glass to mine. The Patterson Fellowship? Why didn't you tell me? I only learned this morning, I said, and I didn't want to overshadow your night. She frowned. This party was Mom and Dad's idea, not mine. I told them it was unfair. You know how they get. You did? Of course. Her expression hurt. I've always known they treated us differently. I just didn't know how to stop it without making it worse. Before I could respond, Dr. Margaret Wu approached. Dr. Collins, she said to me, your research is impressive. Would you consider bringing it to our neurosurgery department instead of Johns Hopkins? I blinked. That's incredibly flattering. But she's already accepted the Patterson, Jessica said proudly, slipping an arm around my shoulders. It's once in a lifetime, and she'll probably revolutionize something else right after. Dr. Wu smiled. When you're finished in Baltimore, keep Detroit in mind. We'd be fortunate to have both of you. After she left, I stared at Jessica. You didn't have to do that. You wanted to stay here. I still can, she said, but not by letting them manipulate things or by holding you back. Across the room our parents finally approached, delayed by guests congratulating me, a situation they clearly didn't know how to handle. Ready? Jessica whispered. Not really. Dad cleared his throat. Dr. Fleming had impressive things to say. The Patterson Fellowship, why didn't you tell us? Would it have mattered? I asked quietly. That's not fair, he said. We supported you differently, Mom added quickly. You had different needs. Jessica shook her head. Not tonight, but we are going to talk about this. For real, no more pretending. Dr. Fleming appeared beside me. The dean would like a word about featuring Audrey in the alumni magazine. She turned politely to my parents. You must be proud, especially seeing Audrey's work recognized after all she's overcome. The emphasis landed perfectly. My parents looked embarrassed. Well, we've always known she was special, Mom said weakly. Too late. The following week changed everything. Word of the fellowship spread, doors opened, professors who'd ignored me emailed congratulations, classmates suddenly remembered we were close friends. My parents arrived at my apartment with gift bags. We thought you both deserved something special, Dad said, placing a box on the table. Inside was a rose gold watch identical to Jessica's birthday gift 6 months earlier. It's lovely, I said, not touching it. A bit late. Mom flinched. We always knew you could handle things alone. Jessica needed more support. That doesn't explain missing my presentations, or refusing my prep course, or telling me to take loans while paying her expenses. We had limited money, Dad said. Yes, I replied calmly, and you consistently chose her. Tears filled Mom's eyes. We love you equally. Maybe, I said, but you didn't treat us equally, and gifts don't fix that. My phone rang. Dr. Fleming discussing my move to Baltimore, I answered, turning away from their stunned silence. 3 weeks later, my apartment stood empty except for packed boxes. Jessica sat on the windowsill watching me seal the last one. I can't believe you're leaving. You'll be too busy to notice, I teased gently. She hesitated. I thought I was lucky growing up, but they made me dependent on approval. I should have spoken sooner. You didn't do anything wrong. I didn't do enough right either. She sighed. They're devastated. Dad keeps bragging about you now. Let him, I said, realizing it no longer mattered. For the first time, their validation wasn't something I needed. Dr. Fleming had shown me what real support looked like: honest, demanding, unwavering. So what happens to us? Jessica asked. I squeezed her hand. We move forward without the competition they created. She smiled. I'd like that. I'm proud of you, Dr. Audrey Collins. And for the first time in years, I felt completely at peace. The future ahead was challenging but clear. And finally, it was mine.